Hai teman-teman online, apa kabar semuanya? Saya mau sedikit cerita ya tentang, oh maaf ya, sedikit sih berisik karena saya sedang berada di luar, sedang menjalankan bisnis saya. Uh, saya bercerita sedikit tentang bagaimana saya berkomunikasi dengan suami saya, dimulai dari sejak pertama kali kita bertemu dan menjalani kehidupan rumah tangga ya. Kadang masih sedikit sulit bagaimana caranya memahami apa yang dia katakan kepada saya dan apa dari maksud kata-katanya. Itu masih sedikit sulit ya, terutama bahasa Inggris saya yang tidak fluent, yang masih terbata-bata dan masih belajar. Saya belajar menggunakan bahasa Inggris itu melalui dia saat ini karena kami berkomunikasi setiap hari. Dan karena suami saya itu berasal dari Eropa ya, agak sedikit ada British-Britishnya kalau berbicara. Jadi saya sedikit kurang memahami apa yang dia katakan kadangkala dan sampai saat ini. Sampai di mana kita tadi ya, sampai cara berkomunikasi dengan suami saya ya. Kadang ketika dia mengatakan satu kalimat saya tidak mengerti, terkadang itu menjadi permasalahan bagi kita berdua. Kita sering berantem karena kita tidak mengerti apa yang dimaksudkan masing-masing. Tapi seiring dengan berjalannya waktu, saya semakin hari semakin mengerti apa yang dia katakan. Dan hebatnya saya tidak bisa berbicara lancar bahasa dia, tapi dia memahami apa yang saya katakan dan saya tidak memahami apa yang dia katakan. Itu kelebihan dari berkomunikasi dengan suami saya. Kebanyakan yang membuat berantem itu antara saya yang tidak memahami dia, tapi kalau dia memahami apa yang saya katakan. Mungkin dia menggunakan bahasa kalbu atau bahasa cinta, jadi dia memahami saya ya. Dulu saya pernah les bahasa Inggris, tapi menurut saya les bahasa Inggris itu tidak itu hanya kita memahami kata-kata, tapi untuk mempraktekannya ternyata kita itu harus berkomunikasi langsung menggunakan bahasa Inggris. Jadi pada saat kita setelah dewasa belajar bahasa Inggris itu sulit untuk dimengerti, sulit untuk mendapatkannya. Jadi bagi kalian ibu-ibu atau orang tua yang memiliki anak, sedini mungkin lebih baik kalian mengajarkan bahasa Inggris dan tanamkan sejak dini, karena mau tidak mau ya, bahasa Inggris itu bahasa internasional. Enggak harus kita keluar negeri bisa bahasa Inggris, tapi di dalam negeri aja bahasa Inggris itu diperlukan. Saya sangat menyesal sekali tidak mendalami bahasa Inggris setelah bertemu dengan suami saya. Tapi puji Tuhan saya bisa mengikuti ya sekarang, karena mau tidak mau harus mengerti bahasa Inggris, karena satu-satunya cara kami berkomunikasi yaitu dengan bahasa Inggris. Karena dia juga nih ya, belajar bahasa Indonesia dia sulit sekali. Saya mengajarkan A, B, C, D itu sulit sekali. Jadi cara satu-satunya saya mengajarkan dia bahasa Indonesia, saya ajak berkomunikasi dengan bahasa Indonesia yang kepleset-plesetan. Contohnya kayak saat ini kan saya masih tinggal bersama orang tua saya, tapi kita berpisah rumah tapi berdekatan. Kadang-kadang saya membutuhkan garam atau membutuhkan beberapa kebutuhan dapur. Saya dengan sengaja meminta dia untuk pergi ke tempat ibu saya dan meminta sesuatu. Contoh, saya mengatakan, sayang saya membutuhkan garam, atau sayang saya membutuhkan daun bawang. saya akan mengatakan kepadanya dengan menggunakan bahasa Indonesia. Jadi cara dia berkomunikasi, cara saya mengajarkan dia bahasa Indonesia dengan berkomunikasi secara langsung dengan orang tua saya, tidak dengan ABCD atau kosakata. Menurut saya itu efektif ya, karena saya sendiri juga merasakan itu efektif menurut saya. Langsung berbicara, tidak perlu menggunakan kayak kita harus belajar verb, belajar past tense atau apa itu seperti ininya mereka itu saya merasa itu berguna ya, tapi bagi saya itu agak sedikit sulit. Jadi lebih baik langsung berbicara. Tapi yang lucunya entah kenapa meskipun saya bersuamikan dia warga negara asing dengan komunikasi bahasa yang tidak lancar, kami satu keluarga mengerti apa yang dia katakan itu, dan bukan mengerti apa yang dia katakan, tapi dia mengerti apa yang kita inginkan dan kita katakan. Dia yang mengerti, bukan kita yang mengerti. Justru kita semuanya, keluarga saya tidak mengerti apa yang dia katakan, tapi dia mengerti apa yang kita maksudkan dengan bahasa Indonesia. Saya tidak mengerti kenapa suami saya bisa begitu, tapi saya tidak bisa begitu. Dan satu lagi ya teman-teman, kan saat ini saya punya bisnis ya, penjualan telur, dan saya juga jadi reseller gas ya. Saya menjual punya orang gas. Bukan terkadang ya, tapi suami saya tahu loh cara berjualannya, dan dia tahu cara menghitung uangnya. Menurut saya itu suatu hal yang saya banggakan ya dari suami saya ya. Sementara dia baru tinggal di sini 7 bulan. Untuk pengertian bahasa atau pengucapan yang kita orang Indonesia ucapkan, dia mengerti, tapi dia tidak tahu cara menyampaikannya. Saya merasa bangga dengan suami saya ya, karena meskipun kita berkomunikasinya tidak terlalu lancar, tapi kita menggunakan bahasa yang kita berdua itu memahami. Istilahnya itu seperti kita itu menggunakan bahasa tubuh yang bisa kita mengerti sama-sama, dan kita belajar sama-sama, tidak berhenti. Teman-teman, begitulah kisahnya antara saya dengan suami saya, bagaimana kita berkomunikasi setiap hari, dan bagaimana kendala kita berkomunikasi setiap hari. Terima kasih. Dan untuk kalian yang pernikahan campuran, saya tahu begitu beratnya pernikahan campuran ini, terutama adaptasi. Terima kasih sudah mampir ke channel kita dan subscribe.
One of the hardest parts of living in Indonesia, and one of the hardest parts of having someone from another country, I don't think it's just Indonesia, but if anywhere coming from the United States where English is not a popular language, is going to be the language, and it's going to be communication, even above the cultural differences, which is pretty extreme between the US and Indonesia, but the language is even more. See, me and Mer, if we ever have an issue or an argument, it's because we don't understand what each other is saying in a moment, and that's because of language. I know a little bit Indonesian, but not much. I came here being a primarily English speaker. Now, I am bilingual. I know American Sign Language pretty well. Not fluently, but I'd say I'm right under fluent. I haven't used it since I've been in Indonesia, so that skill is dying slightly. But I know American Sign Language, and I was pretty intermediate at Spanish. And then, of course, native-born English speaker. Now, Indonesia, knowing multiple languages is common. It's not uncommon for an Indonesian person to know 3 languages, be trilingual as well, fluently. But there's over 700 documented languages actively used in Indonesia today. As of the making of this video, that is the statistics. In the United States, we have many languages, but English is the primary main language that everybody knows. And then Spanish comes in second. The issue that I've had living in such a small village, and some of the challenges I'm facing, is that being in a small, tiny village in the middle of a random island is I started learning Indonesian before I even came here on Duolingo. And I got a little bit down. And then of course More helped me a little bit. But even her Indonesian isn't her primary language. And that's the issue, is being here on a small little island. Indonesian, being the national language, isn't even the main language spoken. So I came here knowing a little bit of Indonesian, hoping that would get me a step ahead, and almost no one speaks it. No one in this house speaks it. Our parents don't really speak it that well either, because they all speak Batak, and they all speak Palembang, and they all speak Java, and those are the main languages here in this village. I've met 2 other people that speak enough English to get by and comfortable to have conversation. But English is not a common language among those 700 languages. And sadly, Indonesian isn't either, at least in my village here. Probably in the bigger cities be more common. And it's sad because Indonesian statistically is one of the easiest languages to learn in the world. But that doesn't help me when we have languages like Batak, which is just as complicated as English on a linguistic level. Now, speaking English in Indonesia does offer a lot of job opportunities for foreigners coming in. I've been offered several jobs teaching, both in public school and privately, people wanting me to do home tutoring, which is great, but not knowing their specific language kind of prevents me from that. Even though most of the time they just wanted me to talk and have conversations with the kids, I'd rather, if I'm going to do that, I want it to be a great quality lesson where I can, communicate in the middle too. So if you are a foreigner who speaks English, it is highly sought after to be taught to the younger population. Now, one of the things that makes English and Indonesian so extreme, opposite spectrums, I'll give you some examples from what I have learned, is Indonesia doesn't have, there's just words missing, don't exist, can't translate. And that makes it difficult as an English speaker, because when you don't even have a word to translate to, and it's just blank space, that causes a lot of miscommunication. One of the examples is being in Indonesian, they say dia. Now that means she or he. There is no gender defining words, where in America we use he for male, she for female, and it's very important in context for anything you're talking about, really. And it's things like that. That's a good example. There are no gender defining words, and it's a lot like that, where it's just like anyone's guess on how you can fit that in. And that is one of the things that is really hard with me and Mer communicating, because she still doesn't quite understand that, because it's so different from any of their languages. To say he or she, always getting confused. She'll say she did this or that or whatever, and she's actually talking about a man. I am confused. Or she'll say they all, and it's like, who's they all? It could be one person, it could be many people. It's like, you gotta get specific if you wanna communicate well. And I don't know how Indonesians really talk to each other in this language with full understanding. I think it explains why some of them are lost so often in conversation, even amongst each other, and there's always a little bit of confusion, or why the conversations are so short. And it's really confusing because there's such a community-driven culture, and always want to be with each other and constantly talking, and that's like what they do for fun, is they talk with each other and have community socialization. But I don't know, because I don't speak the language, but it seems like, a little weird and hard to understand for me. And they'll also say reversed order stuff compared to English, which, most languages are like that, including Spanish, where it will go backwards to what we would say if we are combining two words. I'm trying to think of an example, but right now it is escaping my mind. But my English speakers in the viewership will probably know what I mean, especially if they've learned a little bit of Spanish. This isn't an accurate one, but in case you are confused, like in America, we would say something in the terms of like raincoat, but then when they translate it would be coat rain. That's not a specific example, but one just to help you understand what I'm trying to talk about as an example escapes my mind. And that's what makes communicating when you're cross-cultural, native-born, two separate countries, two separate languages, so difficult, because Amara already knows 4 different languages. English is her 5th, and I'm teaching her English. She didn't know hardly any before I met her. I believe it's her 5th or her 4th. I'm sure she mentioned it on here. Even our small arguments, always down to the language barrier and miscommunication, in moments especially of work and of urgency. Because in America we need, English is language of detail. We need specifics, especially if you're in a position of urgency and strategizing and whatnot. The details are everything, but the language doesn't always give to that. So that's just some of my sharing with you some of the hardships of having a international partner, native born from another country, and moving to a country like Indonesia. I don't know any other country like this where you can learn the national language and it not even be the main language spoken in a big portion of wherever you go outside of the big cities, which makes it really challenging. And it's kind of like, what do I even learn at this point? Like, I know a little bit of Indonesian, but I'm not going to dedicate to learning 6 different languages just so I can talk in my own village. So I don't know what the next language will be, but that does provide one of the challenges that I will give out there to people who are wanting to come to Indonesia as an English speaker, or plan to have a long-term relationship with someone from Indonesia while moving to this country rather than taking to yours. So with that, thank you for watching, guys, and I appreciate you all on the vlog. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the bell and subscribe to our channel if you want to hear more daily vlogs, and comment below what you want to know more about, what are topics you all would like to hear, especially as me coming from the American side to Indonesia, or anybody wanting to hear from the Indonesian side. Feel free to drop that in the comments and we will take that content into consideration. Have a great day wherever you are, and we will catch you on the next one.